Hello, this is Erin Perkins-Curette from www.littlecircles.net, and today I'm here with a very short and sweet video to show you how to create and use a quilling supply swatch, which is a paper estimator and will help you decide how much supplies to order or gather before you go ahead and make a paper mosaic. This is not an exact science by any means, but it will give you a general estimate of how much paper you might need before you start your project. There's nothing more irritating than having a great idea for a quilled mosaic, which take many hours, sometimes hundreds of hours, and then ordering your supplies and not having enough of a specific color or paper in general, or ordering way too much of some obscure color that you're never going to use again. And then you're done and it's just a waste of money. So I devised this little method based on a swatch I used to make when I was a knitter. It was for a different reason, but I thought that this would really sort of transfer to quilling in a wonderful way, so that we're not wasting paper or not getting enough paper. So without further ado, I'd like to show you how to create one. It's really easy. All you need is a scrap piece of cardboard. What you want to do is either draw a 4x4 square, measure it off so it's perfectly 4x4, and quill directly in that square, or you can cut it to the 4x4 size like I've done. So here is my blank piece of cardboard. And what we're going to do is find 5 different colors of contrasting quilling paper in 1/4 inch. Most mosaics are done in 1/4 inch, but if you do it in a different size, then you want to do that size. You want to quill in whatever way is most typical for you. Don't do anything differently on this little square than you would do in any other mosaic. So if you typically use an entire strip of paper to quill your shapes, then do that. If you use half pieces, I almost always use half pieces unless I'm doing something fancy, but I almost always use half pieces. So for mine, I did all half pieces. I'm a very tight roller, so I tightly rolled. I also kind of stuff my paper in. I like a very densely covered space, so I very densely covered my space. Whatever is typical for you, that's what you want to do. So I went ahead and I've already quilled my square. So I'm just gonna slide this out and slide this one in, and you can take a look at what mine looks like. So these are all 1/4 inch paper, a half a strip each, and Culture Pop paper is 17 inches long. So that's what I used, of course. And I tried to use some contrasting colors. I didn't do very well with the blues. There's actually Down by the Bay and Parrotfish, which for this project was probably a little too close. I wish I had chose like a red instead of 2 blues. It would have made it easier for the counting. So the reason we do 4x4 is that gives us a total of 16 square inches, which gives us a pretty good idea of how I quill. Also, it allows me more than enough space to do all the shapes I typically use. Now, all the shapes in this swatch are ones that I use constantly. I also like to stuff and do weird shapes that you wouldn't shape beforehand, and this size allowed me to do that as well. So this is very typical of a background of one of my quilled mosaics. But the important thing is to not do it the way that I do it, but do it the way that you would do it. You're trying to estimate how much paper you would use, not how much paper I would use. So you want to just quill the entire thing. I went ahead and quilled the border first so that I wasn't trying to shove pieces in and get an inaccurate count. You might want to think about doing that too, just going around the edge first and then sort of filling it in. Try to get the colors sort of even, but 5 or more colors is good. So once you're all done and it's dried and you can pick it up and all of that, what you want to do is go ahead and count each of the colors separately and then write it on the back. So I've already done that. So you're just going to go across and like the sour pucker, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, count them all over. So the more colors you use, the easier this is. and the less likely you're going to miscount. I might have miscounted because of the blues, but you know, I'm not going to do this over. It's relatively accurate, I think. So anyhow, okay. So once you've counted them all, I went ahead and I wrote them down on the back for, so that I could come back to it later and check it out. So altogether in my 4x4, I had 69 strips of paper. Now that's total strips. So once I added up all of my numbers, as you can see, so I had like 32 halves, so 16 strips. And then I went ahead and tallied the total for that. So that's 69 strips. Now, since this is a 4x4, 4 times 4 is 16, so it's 16 square inches. And what we're attempting to find out is how many pieces I typically use in a square inch. So that's what I did. So 69 strips divided by the 16 is 4.3125 strips per square inch. And that's the number I'm going to be using for everything. So then I'm going to hold on to my swatch for all future projects and come back and reference it. What you might want to do or think about doing, especially if you're a new quiller, not quilling for years, so your quilling is going to change, right? The more you quill, you know, your method's going to change. Mine certainly did, at least. I quill entirely different now, but you might want to go ahead and make yourself a new swatch like every year, you know, just to see if it's any different, if you need to adjust your quantities. You know, it might just be a good idea, but or not. I think I can probably say that this is how I've quilled now for many years, and I doubt it will change much from here. So anyhow, so that's my number right there. And then I'm going to show you the piece and how to estimate it. So this is, let's see if I can back this up and all. So, okay, there we go. So this is the piece I'm currently working on. And if I want to estimate overall how many pieces I need, I know that this piece is an 11 by 14. Okay, I'm gonna put this back. So if I take 11 by 14 and multiply it, 11 inches by 14 inches, I get 154 square inches. If I then take 154 square inches and multiply it by my strips per inch that I got on my swatch, which was 4.3125, that gives me approximately 665 strips. Now, little circles or culture pop, the packs of paper are 50 strips each. So if I take that 665 strips and divide that by 50, that gives me 13.3 packs. So I know I need approximately 14 packs of paper if I was going to just quill this entire piece just like as a square. Now, obviously I'm not going to do that. So I have to kind of subdivide by looking at the piece and using my judgment to figure out how much paper I actually need. So for this particular piece, you know, let's say I want to estimate how much black or whatever color I'm using for the silhouette of this piece, which when I look at this piece, I think the tree takes up about 1/3 of the picture. So if I take that 154 square inches that an 11 by 14 is, and I divide that by 3, I then get 51.3 square inches. So with that and multiplying it by the 4.3125 square, strips per square inch, I get approximately 222 strips of paper needed, and that comes down to 4.44 packs. So if I got 5 packs of that color, I know I'm going to be covered, you know, at least, and maybe I would get 1 extra to make sure, but I would be within the ballpark. If I just looked at this picture without doing any kind of estimation or math, I honestly would have thought that I needed like 3. I would have definitely underbought. Totally. So you can see it sort of helps you along figuring out, and you can divide your picture in whatever way you want to estimate it, but it's a great way to sort of get an idea of what you might need. But I'm sure there's other methods to do it too. So if you have another method, let me know. I'd love to know. Drop me a comment or get in touch with me on my Facebook page, which is Little Circles Everywhere on Facebook. We're very active there. Or you can go ahead and find us on the website, www.littlecircles.net. I hope this is really useful for you. I hope it saves you some time and frustration in the future. And definitely get in touch. So until the next video, have a great day.